Folks, obviously, with us going to overtime, there's a little bit of a delay here, but I'm excited to get going as soon as we can. So, just a heads up that we will be going live again immediately following the final buzzer and be able to talk about this ball game, which I'll tell you right now. Indiana may win it, they may lose it. We'll see. But I also know that looking at this second half, choking on a 10-point lead, over the last 5 minutes, allowing Ohio State to crawl back into this slowly but surely. You know, it is kind of the same thing that we've seen. A 13-3 run is what ended up giving Indiana that, setting this up, basically. So, you're on the road. It's not easy. But when you're up 10, this ain't supposed to be what happens. So, we will be live once the game ends. But for right now, stay tuned. This is going to have plenty to talk about, to say the least. So be back immediately after the final buzzer. Folks, obviously, with us going to overtime, there's a little bit of a delay here, but I'm excited to get going. How you doing, everybody? I'm Ken Bykoff, and welcome to the Peegs Postgame Live. Indiana 77-76 winners in overtime at Ohio State. The Hoosiers pull off the victory despite allowing a 10-point lead to slip away, and Ohio State missing a shot at the buzzer that could have won the thing. Indiana bounces back from the awful, and I mean awful, loss that they had against Illinois last Tuesday to pick up a really, really critical win. It's important. You got the W. That's very important. It's important that you led by 10 in this one, especially since Ohio State at one point led by 7 points along the way in the first half, and the Hoosiers gritted it out, battled back through Luke Goody knocking down shots, Omar Ballo knocking down shots, got something off the bench from Kanan Carlisle, who played 36 minutes. But they also allowed Ohio State to make up a 10-point lead, a 10-point deficit, I should say, in the final 5 minutes and 28 seconds. And so you walk out with the win, and a Indiana team that desperately needed the victory scores that victory. The problem, of course, is, and I don't want to say problem. That's the wrong way to do it, wrong attitude to have. It's not a problem. It's just a matter of the Hoosiers, again, bouncing back. 10-point, if you walk off with a 10-point win, a 7-point win, you're feeling pretty good. You let that 10-point lead evaporate over the last 5:28 and squeeze one out in overtime. It's a win, and it's important. And I don't want to kind of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Not underplay. It's a W. And that's very, very important for the Hoosiers. Get a huge game out of Luke Goody, 23 points on 7 of 14 shooting, 4 of 7 from three-point range. He plays 41 minutes in this game. Ballo plays 40 minutes, 21 points on 8 of 14 shooting, adds 15 rebounds and 4 assists. Did have 3 turnovers, but that's the Hoosiers got what they needed. They got what they needed. They got the W. Wasn't pretty, but they got the W. 812-393-2600 is the number. The lines are open, and Indiana manages to hang on. Scored 42 points in the second half, which is rock solid, obviously. But there was still plenty of flaws. But again, this team bounced back really well from what we saw against Illinois. And to do it on the road is important, opens the door for them to go to Northwestern and build a little confidence. So maybe this is a situation where you could start to build a little bit of momentum. I mean, winning on the road in the Big Ten is difficult. There's no question about that. I don't know that we want to be handing out medals because you didn't get boat raced as you did at Iowa, or in the last 2 games you got whipped by 25 points in each, and this one you choke on a 10-point lead to win by 1 in overtime. I don't want to be handing out any kind of cookies about that, but they won. They won, and they did just enough against a team that is 10-7. That is not exactly a powerhouse, to say the least, but the Hoosiers score the victory. 77-76 is the final on this thing. 812-393-2600. Want to hear from you? Join us on the chat. That's really, really important. And hopefully, it's going to be a while, but hopefully we'll be able to get some audio from Mike Woodson in a little bit. In a little bit. It's going to take a little bit of time, but you know what? This is life on the road. And when I'm doing it from the home studio with you guys, it's the first time you're seeing the home studio here, that we're able to bring you, give you a little bit of movement there. So that's good. 812-393-2600. Some of the individual stats, again, I'd already talked about Goody and Ballo. Let's talk about Mackenzie Mbako. He finishes with 6 points on 1 of 5 shooting, plays just 22 minutes in the game, and did not look good. Did not look good. Is once again struggled and forced the Hoosiers to adjust because he just was not bringing it, and he has not been bringing it at all. Miles Rice, 4 points on 2 of 6 shooting, had 1 rebound, 2 assists. He played just 15 minutes. He is +9 on the day. Anthony Leal gets the start over Trey Galloway, who hasn't been good of late. He goes scoreless in 31 minutes, took just 1 shot, had 3 rebounds and an assist, but as coupled with the turnover and a block, played solid if it didn't make he was solid defensively. I'll say that. And he moved the ball around. The impact that he made was limited in terms of stats, but he also is a solid leader on the floor, and that's something that was needed. And then you have your bench. Kanan Carlisle's a story on this one. 13 points on 5 of 12 shooting, 1 of 3 from three-point range. He had 4 rebounds and an assist, had a steal in 36 minutes. He was -8 on the day. He did try to force things a little bit more than I would like to see, but still, it was an outing that he made an impact in this one. You know, some good, some bad along the way, but he did end up making an impact, which is really, really important. The other, again, Trey Galloway, 7 points on 3 of 9 shooting, 1 of 4 from three-point range. He did have 4 rebounds and 6 assists. Those 6 assists were coupled with 3 turnovers, but he added a block and a steal in 35 minutes. He was +7 on the night. Langdon Hatton, 3 minutes, 1 of 3 shooting, had a couple of rebounds, played just 5 minutes in the game. The Hoosiers, they end up out rebounding Ohio State 39-35. They had 15 assists on 27 made baskets, had 10 turnovers on the day. They turned over Ohio State 11 times. Ohio State shot the ball, it went 28 of 62 for 45.2% on the day. That said, I just want to mention this. This is not a good Ohio State team. They're not great. Not that Indiana's good, but Ohio State was 10-7 coming into this thing, 2-4 in the Big Ten, trailed by 10 points with 5:28 to play, and the Hoosiers couldn't put them away. And so again, I don't want to be down on a win. A win is a positive for this team. They desperately needed this victory, but it really is a matter of you're bouncing back from that Illinois game. You wanted to see Indiana come out and turn in if not a dominant performance, be able to put Ohio State away. The fact that the Hoosiers were able to do that and get the W finally in overtime is important. It's not how, it's how many. They won the game. They're 14-5 now. Ohio State wishes they were 11-7, but now they're 10-8. But again, it is one of those games where you won the ball game, and that's great. But there's a lot to still kind of scratch your head about. Up 10 points, Indiana still kind of playing a little frantic. They did not respond well to the way Ohio State turned up the defensive pressure. It created a lot of issues for Indiana. And that's how that 10-point lead suddenly disappeared. And understand, the Hoosiers, they stretched that lead out. It was 59-58, and Indiana goes on a 9-0 run to go up by 10 with 5:12 to play. And then at that point, Ohio State hits a 3. Kanan Carlisle goes ahead and makes a layup. And then here came Ohio State, just chunking away. Turnover by Trey Galloway. Yeah, bad defense that leads to a dunk. Balo splits a pair of free throws. You have a jumper. Then you have Indiana missing some shots and playing like they were down instead of up. And that patience, or the lack thereof, I think is a bit of a concern for the Hoosiers, because we've seen that all year. that they just really, they get up and they just simply continue to struggle, to deal with that success. And you want that success to be there. That to me is a lack of patience with this ball club, which is something that happens. But they got the win, and so that's important. 812-393-2600. Want to hear from you? Want to hear your thoughts on the chat about the Hoosiers' victory? Mike Woodson is unquestionably going to say in this postgame press conference about how proud he is of the team sticking together, being gritty, showing toughness, bouncing back, doing all of those things. And he won't be wrong. He won't be wrong. I don't want to act like he is. I appreciate that the lineup was changed so that Galloway came off the bench and Leo moved into that starting lineup. You needed that steady leadership from Anthony. That is really important. I also know that Ohio State, late in the game, they adjusted to what Indiana was trying to run, just some high pick and roll, and Ohio State did a great job of defending that, and they were able to come back and get enough stops and be disruptive enough and take Indiana out of its game. It shows the lack of consistent guard play with this ball club. And you run into a team, again, that's better than Ohio State, which there's plenty of them in the Big Ten. You're going to have a problem with that. Indiana is the better team on paper and has had the better season despite the multiple ass kickings that they've taken this year. They have had the better season on paper. Ohio State has dropped these close ones, relatively frequently. So you run into that kind of confidence as well. But 77-76 winners in overtime, extremely important for the Hoosiers to get that victory. 812-393-2600. It's a Hoosier ball club that has a lot of soul searching still left to do, but they at the very least today did just enough to get over the hump and move to 14-5 on the season. Again, looking at, hopefully getting some audio from Mike Woodson. It's going to be a while because that's just how it is on the road. If I can't get it, for people who listen to the podcast recording, I'll put it at the end where everybody else would hear it. But I'm really interested to hear what he has to say. I'm really, really interested. Ohio State, they got, not much out of their bench. 8 total points out of their bench. But Ohio State's guards gave the Hoosiers a ton of problems. And that, to me, is something that continues to stand out for this ball club. It is, Goody obviously is a forward. Balo's a big. Mbako gave Indiana nothing. He's a wing, but he gave Indiana nothing. Miles Rice plays just 15 minutes. Anthony Leal gives him nothing. Just not a lot from the guards. Kenny Carlisle gave you 13 points off the bench, so that's a positive. But when you're talking about what they would be dealing with there, when it comes to not having, you have to put Carlisle on the floor just to give yourself something, especially with Rice not playing a ton of minutes. That is critical for Carlisle to make an impact, and he did. So that is a huge positive for this ball club. Josh on the chat says, a win is a win with this team. Let's see what they could do at Northwestern, and that really is where we're at right now. The W is the thing, especially when you're on the road. This is Indiana's first true road win of the season because of the fact that, that game against Penn State, that was at the Palestra. That was 200 miles away from the campus at Penn State. And that counts as a road win for the Hoosiers. But that's like Indiana playing a team, up in Maryville or Gary. That's 200 miles from Bloomington. And saying that's an Indiana home game. It's a little bit different. A little bit different. Gritty on the chat says, wasn't expecting that to happen. Good win. It's a win. I don't know if I'd say good win. All wins are good, I suppose, but it's that choking on the 10-point lead that is a concern, Gritty. I was, didn't know what to expect at all from this ball club in this one. Had no idea what to expect because of the fact that, when you've seen a team lose by 25, 2 straight games, I was prepared for anything. Absolutely anything. What's it going to be? Is it going to be the Hoosiers getting just ripped? They came out with good energy. I'll give them that. That was a huge positive. That made me feel that they were answering the call a little bit. Ohio State started to push the lead a little bit, and there was a critical moment in the first period, the first half. Let me try to pull up where exactly it was. Okay, so Indiana has they were down by 7 at one point, and Ohio State had the ball, and you had a turnover that came that could have pushed that lead to 10 by halftime. And instead, that wasn't what happened. You had a turnover by Ohio State. Goody made a couple of free throws, and then they just kind of traded things there in the final minutes. The Hoosiers managed to go into halftime trailing just by 6, despite going about 4 minutes without a field goal. And that to me showed a nice bit of toughness, because you had a moment there where Ohio State maybe could start to pull away, start to work on Indiana's psyche. They weren't able to do it. And that's how Indiana then was able to get back into the game by putting together a nice 9-0 run, in which they scrambled Ohio State a little bit and took advantage of it. And they ran off 9 points in something like a minute and a half, and were able to score that victory, or at least build that lead. Now, they choked it away, but they got the W ultimately. 812-393-2600. Lines are open. I want to hear from you, because I don't think anybody wants to hear me just talk to myself. Miles Rice, I'm interested to see what the story is with what was going on with him, because obviously he was struggling a little bit along the way. You had Mackenzie Mbako is a growing story at this point. Just a growing story. When you look at Mbako's numbers over the past several games, it's starting to become a real concern with him. This is a guy that is very talented, that certainly Indiana has a lot of resources built into, and he is not producing. Plain and simple. He's not producing anywhere near the level that you expect him to be, that I think most of us expected him to be at. And that continues to be a story that we have to watch, because let's see, Mbako in his in the game against Illinois, Mbako ended up where is it? Indiana's garbage thing. Okay, Mbako 1 of 10 from the field against Illinois. He was 1 of 5 today, so that's 2 of his last 15 with that. Go back to the Iowa game. Mbako is, in that one, 2 of 6. Not making an impact. USC game, he had 15 points, or he played 15 minutes. He was held scoreless. So that's 4 straight games where he hasn't had nearly the impact that you need him to have. Luckily, the Hoosiers have gone 2-2 in that time, but Mbako's a concern. And for a guy like that, you always think water is going to find its level. And so at some point, he is going to go off and go off huge. But when is it going to happen? And the biggest problem with Mbako, too, is that he is a scorer. And if he's not scoring, he's not helping your team, which is why it makes sense that he sat for all but, but he only got 22 minutes today. He is so in his head at this point. And if he's not scoring, he sure as hell ain't defending. That's not what he does at all. And he was starting to press and make mistakes. And so Woody sat him down. Was a smart move, honestly, to take one of your guys that's supposed to be one of your leading scorers and step up. The other thing that stands out about Mbako is plain and simple. I ask you the question: how is Mackenzie Mbako different this year than the Mackenzie Mbako that we saw last year? That's my question, because Mbako is. I have not seen the development that I expected to see. That I think all of us expected to see. It hasn't come. And that goes back to, one of the issues that, one of the criticisms that have come up with Mike Woodson is that this is a staff that doesn't really develop players. What you see is what you get. And all of that is a huge concern. I mean, look, guys, you got to start to make a little bit of progress here, and you're just not seeing it. The Hoosiers are winning ball games thanks to Umar Ballo. Ballo, 21 points on 15 shooting. He was not developed here at Indiana. He was developed at Arizona, and the Hoosiers are using him to win ball games. And that's fine. That's fine. That's college athletics these days. But again, sustainable success over years has to come through having some kind of stability. And so it's great that Indiana is getting that out of Ballo, a double-double. That's great. Few teams can match his strength and his size. Few teams can match the length and the shooting ability of Luke Goody, who was developed at Illinois. The Hoosiers are counting on Miles Rice to be a guy that makes an impact. Wasn't recruited to Indiana initially. Again, that's college basketball these days, and I get it, but it's kind of the same situation where it's a win, and that's great, but it wasn't pretty basketball, and not everything has to be pretty. They bounced back better than I expected them to, but they also choked on a 10-point lead. Walked away with a road win, and what's the recipe for success? In the Big Ten, take care of the home court, steal some on the road. This is the steal some on the road. So you don't have to feel good about this one, but you do have to feel good that at least Indiana bounced back much better than I think a lot of us thought. 812-393-2600 is the number. Again, you guys don't want to just hear what I have to say. Hop in the chat. Give me your thoughts on the game. Josh on the chat asks about Mike Woodson and has he won at Northwestern? And I'm pulling up that number, those numbers here. Indiana last won against Northwestern February 10th, 2021. So that would have been a Mike Woodson game. In the past couple of years, however, Indiana has a 4-game losing streak to Northwestern, folks. I don't know if you knew that. And also, they've lost 5 of the last 6. And, if you want to go that route, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 6 of the last 8 they've lost to Northwestern. So but we'll worry about that in a couple of days. Tonight, 77-76 overtime winner. 812-393-2600. We have our first caller. Let me bring him in. Caller, if you give your name, where you're from, and what you got.
What's up? It's Matt from New York.
Hey, Matt, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm ecstatic after that win. I feel like going on the road against a tough Ohio State team, I mean, after everything has happened in the last week, I mean, I want to extend Woodson at this point.
You want to extend him, huh?
Seriously. It looked like they really clicked today. They turned the corner. Ballo had his best game in weeks. He looked real good tonight. Galloway, of course. Wheel always provides a spark off the bench.
Well, he was, Ballo, by the way, had 15 rebounds against Illinois the same way. He was 16 and 15 against Illinois, 21 and 15. But he's a man among boys. There's no question about that. Few teams can handle him. But again, Ohio State, I thought late in the game, did do a good job of defending that high pick and roll that allowed them to kind of scramble into the game and took Ballo out of what he was trying to do. But I can't imagine where the Hoosiers would be without Ballo at this point.
I agree. There's times during the game where he just looks unstoppable. And quite frankly, I'm just wondering where that's been all year.
Well, I think he's done that most of the year. He's been awfully good this year. He's been one of the more consistent guys. Now, yeah, there's plenty that we could watch about his effort from possession to possession. There's plenty to talk about with that. But I thought that at least today there was a big difference in the way that he played in terms of playing a full 40 minutes and showing better effort than certainly that we saw against Illinois. But to me, that is really he's been the Indiana's most consistent weapon this year. That's a guy that you've been able to count on.
I agree. I thought overall Leo looked good as well. He got the start, and he does great things that don't show up on the box score. I thought he was great tonight.
He moves his feet well. He's a leader. He seems to be a guy that is in the right position. He doesn't get out of position, and sometimes you need that kind of guy who is a glue guy that'll do the right thing. And the fact that he earned the start and played 31 minutes and absolutely. Again, there were times when you just forgot that he was out there, but that's not necessarily a bad thing just because the ball was having to go to the other side because he wasn't the one making mistakes defensively, and that is important along the way. You're going to have to sell a whole bunch of people on this extension thing, though.
Listen, 5-3 in Big Ten play, tough road win. It could be worse.
Well, that's what I was at the start. I guess I don't want to pat anybody on the back too hard because you beat a team that you should beat by one in overtime after choking on a 10-point win, or rather a 10-point lead, but coming off of the back-to-back 25-point losses, and when every other loss that you've had this year has been by at least 16 points, the fact that they were able to choke on the 10-point lead and still come back and mentally overcome that in overtime was really important. It's as much a function of Ohio State making some mistakes in overtime as well, but the Hoosiers did what they needed to do to win, and so they do deserve credit for that.
Listen, there's definitely still some work to be done tonight. We'll enjoy this win. I'm going to go celebrate, and I hope you guys have a great night.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the call. Take care.
Yep, have a good night.
812-393-2600 is the number. Tuskers on the chat says it was a goodie win. It was. I mean, without him, that's where would the Hoosiers be tonight for sure. But they got the win. It was a picture of the Hoosiers' inconsistency. I'll say that. The inconsistency of how they played from possession to possession, of going down by 7, getting up by 10, falling apart in the final 5.5 minutes, even in overtime. And that is been a hallmark here. And it's one of those things, Balo has been the most consistent Hoosier this year. The rest of the guys, you never know what you're going to get. And that is what I keep coming back to, is it's great to have balance. That's really important. But you want to have balance that you could count on. And that, I think, is part of the issue with this roster, because you have one game Luke Goody is really good. One game Trey Galloway is really good. Then it might be a 2 or 3 games where they're not as good. You have Mbako, who has made a real impact in multiple games this year. And right now, he's just disappeared. He has absolutely disappeared. Miles Rice, only plays 15 minutes in this one. I'm wondering exactly what it is that happened for him to only play 15 minutes. Not really sure. We will find out. No question. Somebody on the Peegs message board saying Galloway was fouled. Thornton should have never got off that last shot. He was fouled on trying to get to the loose ball. Well, they're not going to call that at that point. We know that. That's just how this stuff works. It's an interesting game. It's a really, really interesting game. And the lack of consistency is, again, what I keep coming back to with this ball club. They got the win. That's awesome. That's great. They desperately needed it. Win 6 of 20 from 3-point range, too. 812-393-2600 is your number. The Hoosiers moved to 14-5 on the season. Very, very important win in terms of building a resume. In terms of picking up a road win, that is obviously very, very critical. And the fact that they were able to do that is really everything. It's really, really everything. Because coming off those back-to-back 25-point losses, just didn't know what to expect. But I'll also tell you this. I now go into that Northwestern game, and I wonder, what to expect in that one. Is this going to build their confidence? Because, again, it doesn't get easier. Northwestern is a road game. Then you got Maryland and Purdue and Wisconsin. 3 out of the next 4 are on the road against, Maryland, Purdue, and Wisconsin. And then you have Michigan back here, Michigan State. This Northwestern game, this Ohio State and this Northwestern game, those are the 2 games in this stretch where you say, hey, you know what? Okay, if they're going to score some wins, this is where they could come. This is where the Hoosiers can pick up those victories, because Ohio State was 2-4 in the Big Ten, now 2-5. They took Indiana to overtime. After trailing by 10, they rally and force overtime and manage to win the ball game. Northwestern currently sits at 2-4 on the season. Michigan State ranked number 12 in the nation. Purdue 17th in the nation. Michigan 20th in the nation. Wisconsin 24th in the nation. There are some real challenges coming up. Maryland is just 3-4, but Maryland gives Indiana some issues along the way as well. But you do still manage to score that victory, and this is the challenge. This is the challenge for Indiana and where we are at this point in the season. The Hoosiers won the ball game. They had a 10-point lead and should have been able to put away Ohio State and didn't. Overtime, they force overtime. Ohio State forces overtime. and poorly drawn up plays in overtime allow Ohio State to have a shot to win the thing in OT. Now, in most seasons, you win a tough game on the road in the Big Ten. You're happy, you feel good about it, you move on, and you look forward to picking up another victory against Northwestern. This season, with the way that Indiana has struggled against some teams, again, it makes you scratch your head. It makes you worry. Z. Paulson says, we're back, and haters will say this win was photoshopped. Mike says, I'm hoping we get some more upbeat TikToks after this W. Look, everybody, it's a win, so you got to feel good about it. You got to be happy with it. You won the ball game. It's not important how you won the ball game, but you got there. You got the victory, but there are some warts that is still going to make you be concerned. Tuskers says, terrible possession from the last time out. I feel like that's been an issue for the Hoosiers for years, going back to Crean. Got to make those clutch buckets out of a timeout, and I don't disagree with that at all. This continues to be a team that at times looks solid, other times looks really disorganized. And I don't want to hear the excuse about how, well, they have, they are new guys and all this. Come on, man. We're 19 games in the season. We're 2/3 of the way through the season. You ain't getting any more locked in than you are right now. So the good thing, I suppose, is that, for the game, I felt like Indiana played pretty well as a team. Again, 15 assists on 27 made baskets is okay. It's just, it was the inconsistency from guys that you're counting on, like Mbako and people like that. Mike on the chat says, I honestly feel like Diebler outcoached Woody in the last 5 minutes of the game. In overtime, they just missed a few shots. This goes back to what I was being called old for a couple of games ago, where just the way that college basketball is being played these days, it continued. I think Ohio State really showcased that today, because there were some bad shots, bad decisions, some bad passes along the way that just everybody was so rushed, and so it was just a pickup ball style of play. And I don't disagree with you, Mike. I feel like Ohio State, as much as anything else, had some open looks that they could have knocked down and didn't, which is why they were 10-7 coming into this game. That's how you get down by 10 at home. And then they were able to turn up the defense and refocus and being able to get things a little bit farther, get back into it. 812-393-2600 is the number. Got another call. Caller, if you give me your name, where you're from, and what you got.
I got absolutely nothing. Since Farrell left, this program has been a fucking joke.
Since who left?
Farrell.
Oh,
your boy Yogi?
Yeah.
The fact you even had to think twice about Yogi. Come on, guys. What are we doing here?
No. I didn't understand what you said. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand Farrell. I just didn't hear you right. That's all. I look, the lack of a quality point guard is a problem. I'm not arguing that. Jalen Hood-Schifino was pretty decent, but yeah, there hasn't been really a quality point guard.
Curious of your guys' thoughts.
All
right. Well, I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. That's an odd one. That was an odd one. Sounds like he's maybe gotten into the natural light a little bit, which good for them. Hey, man. Friday night. Good for you. 812-393-2600 is the number. Love to hear from you. If you do, he said, I'd like to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your thoughts. That's what I'm in the market for. I've been talking long enough. I want to hear from you guys. So let me ask you this on the chat, or if you want to give me a call in. Do you feel better after this game? Has this? I'm not saying it changes the overall feeling about the direction of the program, but does this calm you down a little bit? Does it calm you down as a fan a little bit right now? I'm an old jaded bastard, so it's hard for me to be excited about a win or a loss. I don't get too high for a win. I don't get too high for a loss. I mean, look, when you're getting whipped like they did the last two times out, that's different. But I don't think this will quiet any critics. And I don't think that it necessarily changes the direction of the program. A 1-point overtime win on the road is really important. But again, it is a situation where the Hoosiers beat Ohio State because they should have beat Ohio State. They're good enough to beat Ohio State. They have a lot more talent than Ohio State. And they were up by 10. And if you cruise to a 10, 12, 13-point victory, maybe you do feel a little bit better. But squeaking out a win, it's on the road. That's part of the equation. But, man, got to finish these things off. Mike says, a win's a win. I could care less about the Ken Palm crap. I really believed we'd blow it today, but we didn't, so I could sleep sound tonight. And that's a fair attitude. It's a fair attitude. You beat the teams. You went there to win, and you did it. So that's an absolutely fair attitude. It doesn't lessen my concerns about what will happen when Indiana takes on the Michigan States and Purdue's and Michigan's and Wisconsin's of the world. But you got the victory. You have to beat the teams that you're better than, and how you do it isn't always the most important thing, but they did it. So that is an upside. 812-393-2600 is the number. Lines are open. Want to hear from you. Not seeing any kind of updates at all from Jeff Rabjohns or any of the guys that were over in Columbus about a post-game presser or anything like that. So I'm trying to pull that up a little bit, see if maybe this thing is started. Looks well, it has started, and it's starting to come in. So let's see if I can try to get some audio from head coach Mike Woodson, and see if that's something that we can get going here. See, I think I will. All right, here's head coach Mike Woodson during his post-game press conference.
Talking about the starting lineup tonight.
Well, back to last year when we played here, the kind of game we had. I just wanted to kind of shake things up a little bit. I thought he answered the bell. He got the big defensive stop.
Oh, that's way too quiet. We can't work with that. We'll get different audio for that. That'll come when it comes. He was asked, obviously, about Leo right off the bat, but yeah, you can't hear that. Can't hear that, so we'll just wait a little bit longer, see what we can get. I would sure would be nice to get that audio here in just a little bit. Let's see, some of the numbers, somebody said has put together some numbers over the last 4 games for Mackenzie Mbako. 4 of 29 from the field overall, 0 of 15 from three-point range. Scored a total of 20 points in the last 4 games. Is that right? No, hell, it's 16 points. Not ideal. You need more than that out of your guys. Desperately need more than that out of your guys. Have to see if, just what exactly they're able to get. He's got to step up. He's got to step up and get to where he needs to be. Because right now, his lack of production, especially for a guy that doesn't play a lot of defense, is a problem. It's definitely a problem. See if we can't pull up better audio from Mike Woodson. Let's see.
Oh, back to last year when we played here, the kind of game he had. I just wanted to kind of shake things up a little bit. And I thought he answered the bell. He got the big defensive stop last year. He hit a big 3 here to help seal it. Coming down the stretch tonight, he made a great defensive stance to help us get another victory tonight.
Are you going to just evaluate it then game to game, the starting lineup, or do you anticipate kind of?
No, it's all by feel in terms of where I'm going and what I'm going to do moving forward.
Mike, we're kind of crying out for a second scorer after halftime. That Goody turned out to be that guy. Why was this the night that he was able to get his offense going?
I don't know. He got some good looks. They were doubling Mbako. And we kind of set it up that way on the backside that he could get the looks, and he knocked some shots down for us. Some big shots. We needed every one of them because they were huge that he made.
Daniel and Zach.
I want to say after last loss, I think it was Anthony and Luke mentioned just lack of effort, a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff that they kind of wanted changed. Is there anything that you guys changed the last few days, or just was it more of just opponent based? It kind of felt like early on you guys played a little harder.
Our last game we came out, we started the game very well. At one point it was 10-8, and then we couldn't make shots. He got away. We couldn't get stops. I thought we played a lot better in the second half. But when you spot teams like that, it's hard to get back in games and win them. But we had to put it behind us. I tip my hat to our team because they could have laid down, and they didn't. They came here to Ohio and got a win.
Zach and Will.
Mike, I don't think Luke or Umar came off the floor in the second half of overtime. Luke gets that big shot late. Umar's down on the floor getting a tip rebound that extends a possession. Just what does it do for a team when it's obviously the points, the rebounds, the made shots, but also the effort plays and guys like that just committing a full 25 minutes after halftime when it's veterans doing that for your team?
Well, again, I need that. They've been on a few teams, and speaking in terms of Mbako, and both he and Goody have won at a high level. And you expect that from them. They made winning basketball plays coming down the stretch. I thought Mbako got 2 great looks, prior to going into overtime that he just didn't put down. And then we got down early in the overtime, and we just kept fighting and making defensive stops, and Goody hitting a big 3 to put us back up. So it was a total team effort, man. We needed it after the 2 games we just had.
Will and Zach.
Yeah, you got guys like Luke and then like Kaden who stepped up, and that level of connectedness and energies just seemed a lot better tonight than it has been. How do you get that to be more consistent moving forward?
Well, guys, we're sitting here, we've won 14 games, man, and I believe it's 14 and 5. It's not like it's 5 and 14. We've played some pretty good basketball and had some good stretches. And, the 2 games that we just didn't, we got our asses beat those 2 games. And ain't nothing you can do about it now. We just got to try to stay away from games like that. Hopefully we'll get Malik back soon. But, you know, Kanan was huge tonight. I couldn't take Ballo out because I used the timeouts to give him a blow, and he said he was okay, so I rode him.
Zach and then Mike.
Luke's quickly established himself as a leader with his voice in this team. How important is it for him to not only be able to do that, but lead by example like tonight?
It's huge. I mean, he's a senior, man. That's what seniors supposed to do. And you know, I expect that from Gallo. Anthony, you know, who was big tonight. You know, Gallo made some good plays, but you know, I got to get Gallo playing back at a high level. He and McKenzie are really two big pieces to this puzzle, man. And you know, they've been struggling as of late. I got to get them back going.
Mike and then Josh.
Yeah, Coach, a lot of outside noise the last few days.
I don't care about the outside.
No, I want to
really
ask you
don't.
what's your team, what it says about your team that they didn't let it bother them.
Well, again, it's, you know, it just shows you a little bit about the character of our team, but I don't even want to comment on the outside noise. It's ridiculous.
Josh.
Coach, you sent Luke and Anthony to the press room after. How nice is it to see Luke hit the game-winning shot, Anthony have the defensive play at the game at the end, and see the Indiana guys step up tonight?
No, listen, man, you know, we got a group of guys in that locker room that got a lot of pride, man, and they wear that jersey with pride, and sometimes things don't go according to plan. And, you know, I thought tonight, man, considering where we've been the last two games, they fought their asses off to help us win this basketball game. And it was a total team effort, man.
Front row right here.
Mike, when you looked at this Ohio State team, how much did you come in expecting you would have an advantage in the paint?
Well, you know, again, Royal didn't play, and you know we're better when we got Malik because he gives us some positive things in that paint area. And we've been struggling a little bit in the paint, you know, because we do depend on Malik some in that area. Ballo's been great for us, but you know we got guys that can get downhill like Miles Rice and Gallo to make plays at the rim. But listen, to win on the road in the Big Ten, it's not easy, man. It's tough. You know, they got a hell of a team, and they're well coached. So to come in here and get a win, man, I tip my hat to our guys.
Last question, Zach.
Mike, you talked about Kanan a little bit too. You've coached obviously a lot of guys down the years. What does a game like this do for a guy who was probably searching for his game a little bit, searching for some confidence, obviously some offensive rhythm? Just what does a game like this do for a player in a moment like that?
I just hope he bottles it up and, you know, carries it forward, man. And, you know, these games are coming awfully quick, and you can't run from them. So, you know, I'm going to need Kanan and the supporting cast to play at a high level, man, because that's how you win on the road. And then you got to take care of home.
Thanks, Coach.
812-393-2600 is the number. I want to hear about your thoughts on some of those comments there in the chat, or give me a call. He said exactly what I thought he would. One thing that I do take issue with, and look, he's a head coach, so he's going to say what he wants. He's going to be mad because of the outside talk that he said was ridiculous. You get your ass kicked by 25 points in back-to-back games. Yeah, there's going to be some talk. You're in four years into this thing. All 5 of your losses have come by at least 16 points. So yeah, there's going to be outside talk. Just say I don't listen, not listening to it. Don't tell me it's ridiculous. Ridiculous is the basketball that we were watching on Tuesday night and last weekend. That was ridiculous. So don't act like you're all surprised and it's just silly for anybody to be, you know, talking about anything. Get off of that. I'm not interested in hearing that. Saying, you know what, you just as easily could answer, you know what, I'm not worried about that. I'm not thinking about that. Our guys aren't thinking about it. I'm just proud of the way that they came back. Call it ridiculous. Get off of it. Give me that. Tuskers on the chat says, not seeing Ballo get those shots at the end of regulation was tough. Maybe I'm too negative on the kid, but I've been underwhelmed in Ballo's ability to dominate and take a win. I thought Ohio State did a nice job of defending that. That to me, he didn't get the shots. He didn't get because he didn't get the ball as much. Some of the shots a little bit later too has to do with the minutes he played, and maybe he didn't get quite as much lift off the floor as he could. Gus on the chat says, "Could you replay it? Woody's voice puts me to sleep." Well, the audio when you're on the road, nobody takes that stuff as seriously as I do. When we do the post-game press conferences at Assembly Hall, I have the XLRs set in. I want perfect audio for this. On the road, I got to count on other people. They don't take it as seriously as I do. But at least we got it. So that's a positive. Last call for phone calls, 812-393-2600 is the number. Think that, just looking forward to the Northwestern game, the Hoosiers will be playing Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern time in Evanston. Going to be really interested in the crowd reaction. Now, those Northwestern games tend to be almost like an Indiana home game because there's so many IU alumni that are up there that they take that opportunity to get a chance to see Indiana play. Tends to be kind of a heavy IU crowd. I've heard people talk about it on Twitter, on message boards, that they're not going to bother with going to the game this year because they just aren't excited about this team. So I'll be interested to see how that all plays out as the Hoosiers go on the road. What do you want to see that from this Hoosier team when they take on Northwestern? On paper, a hell of a lot more talented. Northwestern is not any kind of good. They're 11-6 on the year, 2-4 in the Big Ten. They will be taking on number 20 Michigan. So it's safe to say, it feels they're at Michigan. Feels good that they might end up losing that game. That said, they did just beat Maryland in overtime, 76-74. So we'll see. They beat Illinois earlier this year. It's not going to be easy, to say the least. So it's an IU team that scored the win, and that's what you need to do on the road. Find out a way to win. They did just that and did bounce back from the 25-point losses that they had, the back-to-back 25-point losses. Wasn't pretty. Doesn't allay any concerns that I know that I have about the program, but it's the Bull Durham, Nuke LaLoosh thing. I love winning. It's like better than losing. And that's where the Hoosiers are tonight. Well, that's all the time we have on the Peegs Postgame Live. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for watching and joining our chat. And want you to be sure to visit Peegs.com for the very best in IU football and basketball coverage you're going to find anywhere. Nobody covers Hoosier recruiting better than Jeff Rabjohns, Matt Weaver, Trevor Andershock, and Jared Kelly. So come be a part of a thriving and exciting community at Peegs.com. Folks, you are not going to be disappointed. Folks, we're out of time, but for now, and for Jeff, Matt, Trevor, and Jared, I'm Ken Byakoff saying thanks for listening, everybody.